So let us start with the session. So very good afternoon all. I am Dr. Shanti, MB from heading INE Cell, Department of CSE, CMRIT. I welcome all of you for today's IIC expert talk on the process of innovation development and technology readiness level and commercialization of lab technologies and tech transfer, organized by Institutions Innovation Council, CMRIT, Bengaluru. A hearty welcome to you all. We are privileged to have Dr. Bhaskar Gupta sir, a renowned and distinguished guest, as resource person for today's event. Thank you so much for accepting our request besides your busy schedules and gracing the event.
Thank you very much.
Behalf of CMRIT principal, HODs, staff and IIC team members, I would like to extend a warm welcome to you, sir. I am honored to introduce Dr. Gupta sir to the audience. Dr. Bhaskar Gupta, a veteran academician, cum research scientist and director, Nitra Technical Campus, joined as an officiating director and dean at IIMT Group of Colleges, Greater Noida in June 2020. Dr. Gupta, in his academic career spanning for more than 19 years now, has taught various subjects at both UG and PG level in many renowned institutes such as AKGEC, ABES, IMS and DIT. He is presently working as President of IIC Cell and trained as an Innovation Ambassador by Ministry of Education Innovation Cell, Government of India. He is also a coordinator for NISP and ARIA. He has been taking sessions on innovations, entrepreneurship, design thinking, IPR, BMC technology, technology readiness level, critical thinking since 10 years across the country. He is a startup founder and currently handling MSME based incubation center having more than 35 startups. He has more than 5 Indian patents published, 2 copyrights and 2 book chapters in CRC Press. Dr. Gupta wears many hats as an academic professional. His works, other than basic teaching, includes publishing and presenting several papers in national and international journals, guiding MTech projects, working on various state and central government sponsored projects, and traveling around USA, South Korea, Afghanistan, Dubai, Ethiopia on academic cum research mission in association with world's renowned universities. Notable amongst his R&D achievements are commercialization of electronic eye for blind people in collaboration with MSME Delhi, developing UAVs in collaboration with Korean Aerospace Industries Association, South Korea, working on DRDO sponsored project on robotics, completing NASCOM based project on software defined radio, and mentoring students for Microsoft Imagine Cup competition under software category. Dr. Bhaskar Gupta had been the director of SSITM Aligarh, BIRTM Khurja and Nitra Technical Campus Ghaziabad, hence having substantial exposure to the administrative affairs. Besides he is a fellow member of IEEE MTT, IETE and IIRS Dehradun. He had been 6 times coordinator for IIT Delhi Virtual Lab Program and working as a nodal coordinator for IIRS ISRO Outreach Program and IITM Swayam NPTEL Program. Behalf of CMRIT management, HODs, staff And IIC team, a hearty welcome to you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, Dr. Shanti, for such a nice introduction. Let me just go for today's session, Expert Technology Readiness Levels,
Sir,
Commercialization of Lab Technologies. And yes, ma'am.
shall I share the slides, sir?
Yes.
Yeah.
And technology transfer. Let me just express my gratitude quickly to Dr. Shanti, Head Innovation and Entrepreneurship Cell, for giving me an opportunity to express my views for today's topic under IIC 4.0. Dr. Agalya, President IIC, Dr. Sanjay Jain, Principal of CMRIT, and the management, dear students and faculty members, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just request Dr. Shanti to kindly present the PPT.
Sure, sir.
So the session is going to be very for you all. So today's topic is about the process of innovation development and technology readiness levels. So would you please go to the slide?
Yes.
So there is a way to do it better, find it. This is an old statement by a great philosopher, Thomas Edison. So he said about the innovation. So innovation is always around us. The only need is to identify and is to implement it for your product or the process. Next. So if you look at the innovation happens whenever you are going to improve on or going to make a significant change to the existing one that has already been invented, that is called innovation. Innovation, in other terms, is the conversion of your knowledge into wealth, is also known as innovation. Innovation has been found a very complex process. Even defining innovation is very complex and problematic. Next. If you look at the impact of innovation on market, you will see the different kinds of innovation is happening around us in the form of disruptive innovation, which is the most recent kind of innovation used by most of the unicorn startups. And in fact, the 42 unicorn startups which were born last year in 2021 during COVID 19, they all have used disruptive kind of innovation in which they have used some innovative and new business models in order to disrupt the existing market. But what is actually missing is radical innovation, which is about technological breakthrough, which is about to develop a new technology for your product or process or the service which you are going to offer in the market. Several examples are there in front of us. If I am talking about radical innovation, like we already switched from incandescent bulb to the LEDs. So LED technology is entirely different from incandescent bulbs. So this is a fair example of radical innovation. Sustaining innovation is about a significant improvement in your services, in your product. So it is about that your product is going to sustain in a market for a long time. And the example is Toyota, Apple, iPhones. They have successfully used sustaining kind of innovation. Incremental innovation refers to the gradual kind of innovation, but certainly there is a compounding effect, there is a continuous improvement. So this kind of innovation comes under incremental innovation. Next. So if you look at the innovation metrics, you will come to know the various organizations have successfully implemented. Sustaining innovation has been implemented by Apple, Toyota Corporation, Nike Shoes, and Bank of America. Disruptive innovation, which I already told you, is very popular these days. And the examples are Oyo Rooms, Swiggy, Misho, Uber, Ola. all these startups have successfully used disruptive kind of innovation. I am not claiming that they have used some radical innovation. If they would have used radical innovation for their startups, then a significant and substantial growth can be expected, which is missing. The breakthrough innovation has been used by Procter and Gamble, innocentive company. Basic research is about basic things only, and it has been implemented by IBM and Park companies. Next. If you look at the different characteristics of successfully innovative organizations, you will come to know you have to be a leader, you have to focus on leadership, you should have deep competency because you are working in a red ocean and a lot of competition is there. It's a highly competitive market. You should have facilitative culture. You should be an active learner always throughout the cycle. You have to enable structures and the process. You have to be intelligent enough. Ultimately, you are going to be the owner of the business. You should have decision making, approach with you. You are the decision maker for your firm, for your startup, for your enterprise. And of course, you are the leader of the business. You are the team leader rather than an owner of the business. So you have to empathize with others. Next. The innovation professional thinks in constraints, not problems, showing foresight, not hindsight, evidence based, not confidence based, conscious, not unconscious. Or whenever you want to innovate something, you are going to employ that kind of innovation for your product or for your process. Whenever you are able to innovate your product, the product innovation comes in the form of the quality. It means a quality improvement will be there or the product improvement will be there. If you are thinking of process kind of innovation, the process innovation has always been connected with cost improvement, not the quality. So whenever you are looking for improvement in the cost of the product or the service or the process, you have to focus on this kind of process innovation. And please do remember the technology is evolving over the time, so you have to focus on the changing innovation according to the evolving technologies and critical technologies available around us. Next. This I have covered. Next. So as per Global Innovation Index, already result is there in front of us. 5 6 years back, if you will look at, the India ranked above 80, all around the world. But now in these 5 years, India ranks 46th as per Global Innovation Index. So that's a significant achievement, and thanks to the government of India in order to promote these innovation and entrepreneurial activities and for developing such kind of ecosystem to promote to nurture the ideas of students who really want to do something with their creativity and imagination. So of course we have achieved a greater performance. India's ranks 46th. Next. So if you look at this graph, you will come to know first you have to innovate your product. Gradually over the time, a threshold is achieved. After that threshold value, which is the dominant design established, you are going to innovate the process in the same way. And so you first have to innovate your product. Then after some time, once the threshold has been achieved, the process innovation will come into the picture, and you might be able to see that exponential growth in the rate of innovation. Next. So technology readiness assessment is very important as far as your innovation management is concerned, or innovation implementation is concerned. This is used to measure the maturity of the evolving technologies or the critical technologies. It's a systematic metric based process that is going to assess the maturity of and the risk associated with Critical technologies are also being assessed by TRLs to increase opportunity in commercialized and reduce the valley of death. Next. The European Commission advised EU funded research and innovation projects to adopt the scale in 2010. TRLs were then consequently used in 2014 in the European Union Horizon 2020 program. In 2013, the TRL scale was further canonized by the International Standards Organization. Next. So if you look at TRL definition, you will come to know it has been divided into three parts, which starts from the basic research, going to the development, and finally the deployment. The first, let me just, TRL 1, scale 1, there are 9 levels in TRL definition. So if we are beginning with scale 1, it is about basic principles observed and reported. The scale 2 is about the formulation of applications. You have to identify the applications during this scale 2. Scale 3 is about concept validation, where experimental proof of concept is to be established, and you have to validate, you have to be ready with your written document that your idea is now being validated and you have solved the validated problem. If you coming to the development level, you will come to know about experimental pilot, which means you are going to perform some experiments during this particular stage. You are going to validate your idea by performing experiments, testing. Then it is about, level 5 is about demonstration. Once you have performed the experiment, you are going to demonstrate your idea or your prototype or your representational model openly in front of the public in the open environment. When we are going to talk about level 6, it is about industrial pilot, which means you are now ready with your prototype and or MVP, minimum viable product, here up to this level 6. 7 is about first implementation. 8 is about your release version, where you are now ready with your product which you want to launch into the market for commercialization. When you are coming gradually to point number 9, it is about market expansion, it is about scaling, it is about customer creation. So these 9 scales are very important whenever we are going to define technology readiness level for innovation management and innovation development. Next. If you look at the innovation chain, you will come to know TRL1, TRL2, TRL3 are the part of basic and applied research, where you are going to prove the feasibility of your idea. You have to focus about commercial viability as well as your technical feasibility. When your idea is not feasible, not valuable, is not worth solving, maybe you will be wasting the time and you won't be able to generate any kind of innovative and novel idea in order to address the identified problem. TRL 4, 5, 6 are the part of development process, where you have to develop the technology, you have to develop the prototypes, you have to develop the minimum viable products in order to validate your concept, in order to validate your idea. TRL 7, 8, and 9 jointly are the part of the deployment level. Deployment refers to the launching of your exact and real product into the market, which could be a service, which could be a process, it could be a product, whatever. It could be any e-commerce, online website, whatever it is. Ultimately, it's a startup. So you are going to apply the concept of TRL for your startup. So this is going to be a product, this is going to be a process, or it is up to you what you want to do. Next. If you look at the TRL1 is about basic principles observed, TRL2 is about application formulated, TRL3 is about your proof of concept established, TRL4, I already told you, is about laboratory testing of your prototypes, TRL5 is you are done with your testing and you are going to demonstrate it inside your designer's team. TRL6 is about your prototype verified. TRL7 is demonstration of your product. TRL8 means your system is now complete and qualified. TRL 9 is about system proven in operational environment. Here, this TRL 9 means most mature technology. So, because I already told you there are 9 TRLs, this 9 level scales. So, scale 9 means the most mature technology, and the TRL 1 is about least mature technology. So, whenever you want to measure the performance of your startup, there is an assessor outside who will be assessing your TRLs. If your startup has achieved TRL 9, that means you have now achieved the complete, you had been able to develop an innovative product, and you are now ready for the expansion, for the scaling. That's good for the startup. Next. Technology readiness levels are a method for estimating the maturity of technologies during the acquisition phase of a program developed at NASA during 1970s. So these TRLs were originally conceived at NASA during 1974, and in the beginning 7 TRLs were defined. However, later on 9 scale TRLs were used by NASA and US Department of Defense. The use of TRLs enables consistent, uniform discussions of technical maturity across different types of technology. Next. Technology readiness levels were originally conceived at NASA in 1974 and defined in, however, little later in 1989. The original definition included 7 levels, but in 1990s, NASA adopted the current 9 level scale that subsequently gained widespread acceptance. TRLs are based on a scale from 1 to 9, with 9 being the most mature technology. The US Department of Defense has used this scale for the procurement purposes since early 2000. By 2008, the scale was also in use at European Space Agency. Next. Technology readiness levels are a type of measurement system used to assess the maturity level of a particular technology. Each technology project is being evaluated against the parameters for each technology level and is then assigned a TRL rating based on the project's progress. There are 9 technology readiness levels. TRL 1 is the lowest and TRL 9 is the highest level. Next. When a technology is at TRL 1, scientific research will begin, and those results are being translated into future research and development. TRL 2 occurs once the basic principles have been carefully studied and observed. The practical applications can be applied to those initial findings. TRL 2 is very speculative as there is little to no experimental proof of concept for the technology. So that's right. Once you are working with TRL2, it's very speculative because there is no experimentation, no testing, no validation involved. So you have to be very careful. If you have chosen a wrong idea, if you are that time only you can change, you can choose some another topic on which you have to work. So this is the right time. Next. When active research and design begin, a technology is elevated to TRL3. Generally, both analytical and laboratory studies are required at this level to see if a technology is viable and ready to proceed further through the development process. Often during TRL3, a proof of concept model is constructed. Next. So TRL3 is about your experimental proof of concept in which you have to be ready with your document, written document, in order to say that, yes, I have chosen a validated problem. In that case only, you will be able to validate your experimental proof of concept. Once the proof of concept is ready, the technology advances to TRL4. During this TRL4, multiple component pieces are being tested with one another. TRL5 is a continuation of TRL4. However, a technology that is at 5 is identified as a breadboard technology and must undergo more rigorous testing than technology that was only at TRL4. So TRL5 is means your product has to undergo a rigorous kind of testing and experimentation compared to TRL4. Next. Simulations should be run in environments that are close to realistic as possible. Once the testing of TRL 5 is complete, a technology may now advance to TRL 6. A TRL 6 technology has a fully functional prototype or representational model. I already told you, at this 6 TRL 6 is about the development of the rough prototype or sometimes the prototypes or the minimum viable product or the representational model which you are going to use for validation. Next. TRL 7 requires that the working model or prototype is to be demonstrated in a space environment. Now you are going to demonstrate it during TRL 7. TRL 8 has been means your technology has been tested and flight qualified. Status will be achieved by you and it's ready for implementation into an already existing technology or technology system. Once a technology has been flight proven during a successful mission, it can be called TRL 9. So once you have achieved TRL 9, which means that you have achieved flight proven status, you are now ready to launch your product into the market for commercialization. Next. So original NASA TRL definitions, if you look at level 1 is about principles, level 2 is about applications formulated, level 3 is about experimental proof of concept model, level 4 is about breadboard laboratory, level 5 is about breadboard validated in simulated or real space environment, level 6 is about system adequacy validated in simulated environment. Next slide. Level 7 is about system adequacy validated in space. So in 1989, in the beginning, there were just 7 TRL levels. So these are those levels. In fact, now we are not using those 7. It is now 9 level scale. Next. Assessment tools. Different assessment tools are around us in order to assess the performance of the technology. A technology readiness level calculator is already developed by Air Force of United States. This is the tool, standard tool, which is having a Microsoft Excel sheet that produces a graphical display of the TRLs achieved by your company. This tool is intended to provide a snapshot of technology maturity at a given point in time. Next. The Defense Acquisition University Decision Point tool is already available. Originally named the Technology Program Management Model, was developed by United States Army. So this is also one of the important tools in order to assess the performance and the maturity level of your technology. Next. The model provides a core set of activities, including systems, engineering, and program management tasks that are tailored to the technology development and management goals. This approach is comprehensive and holistic, yet it consolidates the complex activities that are relevant to the development and transition of a specific technology program into one integrated model. Next. If you look at the uses, the primary purpose of using this TRL is to help management in making decisions concerning the development and transitioning of the technology. It should be viewed as one of the several tools that are needed to manage the progress of research and development activity within an organization. Next. Among the advantages of TRLs, it provides a common understanding of technology status, risk management, used to make decisions concerning technology funding, used to make decisions concerning transition of technology. Next. Some of the useful characteristics of TRLs that are limiting their utility. Readiness does not necessarily fit with appropriateness or technology maturity. A mature product may possess a greater or lesser degree of readiness for use in a particular system context than one of lower maturity. Next. Numerous factors must be considered, including the relevance of the product's operational environment to the system at hand, as well as the product system architectural mismatch. Current TRL models tend to disregard negative and obsolescence factors. There have been suggestions made for incorporating such factors into assessments. For complex technologies that incorporate various development stages, a more detailed scheme called the Technology Readiness Pathway Matrix has been developed, going from the basic units to applications in society. Next. This tool aims to show that a readiness level of a technology is based on a less linear process but on a more complex pathway through its application in society. So if you look at technology readiness levels, I have already discussed, has been divided into three levels about your basic and applied research, development and deployment. So beginning from basic principles and reaching to actual system proven in operational environment, which is the level 9 in this TRL. So as a successful startup founder or business owner, I would request all of you to kindly incorporate TRLs whenever planning to incorporate your startup as a successful startup founder or a successful innovator. Next. So if you look at this trajectory, you will gradually be moving from TRL1 to TRL9. So this is the example of some space related technology from the R&D department, and they have certainly used different TRLs in order to assess the maturity level of their business, starting from basic principles, applications, proof of concept, functional verification, breadboard technology, model development, model demonstration, flight qualified, and flight proven, which is the most mature technology if you have achieved level 9. Next. So if you look at this, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 9, the 9 scales are there. So 1 and 2 are the part of basic research. If you club scale 2 and 3, you are going to prove the idea feasibility by clubbing scale 2 and 3. If you are working together with this level 3, scale 3, 4, and 5, it is about your technology development on which you are working. If you are clubbing 5 and 6, it is about your demonstration. If you have to club 6, 7, 8, means now you are going to develop your original product, which is to be launched. You have to club scale 8 and scale 9 in order to launch your product in exact market for commercialization. Next. So if you look at this technology readiness level, you will come to know 1 and 2 are about basic research, 2 and 3 are about your feasibility issues, your idea feasibility, your technology feasibility, uh, about your product feasibility, whether you would be able to innovate your product or not, whatever you want in the beginning. Technology development is scale 3, scale 4, and 5. Once you are going to demonstrate it in market, it is about scale 5 and scale 6 jointly work out. If you are going to develop a system, development is there, you have to work with level 6, 7, and 8. And when you want to launch your product into the market, you would have to work with both scale 8 and 9. Next. The European Space Agency adopted the TRL scale in mid 2000. Its handbook closely follows the NASA's definition of TRLs. The universal usage of TRL in European policy was proposed in the final report of first high-level expert group on key enabling technologies or critical technologies, and it was indeed implemented in the subsequent European Union Framework Program called H2020, running from 2013 to 2020. Next. If you look at the technology readiness levels, so you must have got some idea. It is about your idea generation, about your basic research, about your applications formulation, which is a part of applied research itself. In fact, when you are working with applications, small scale prototyping, I already told you about the prototype. So small scale prototype means this is the first version of the prototype, which is called prototype. So here itself, you can change your idea if you are not having your validated problem. So you can leave your business or that idea here at TRL3. Then you can go for large scale prototype for testing in the environment. Once you have validated your prototype, you have to go for demonstration in the open system. And then later on, once you have validated, you have to think in the direction of commercialization, customer creation, and of course, the growth of your startup. Next. So if you look at the major advantages, it is providing a common understanding of technology status between technology developers, project managers, and other stakeholders in the business, informing risk management activities, informing decisions, informed decisions concerning transition of technology to the next stage of development or commercialization. Next. What are those key takeaways from these 9 scales? The technology readiness level is an internationally recognized scale for describing where a new technology is in the research and development process. The TRL scale ranging from 1 to 9, with 9 being ready for commercialization, 9 being most mature technology in your business. TRL, of course, benchmarking is used by both public and private industries and investors to inform decision making. In fact, nowadays in India, the DRDO and so many other government agencies are also going to make use of TRLs for different purposes. It is up to you for what purpose you want to adopt the TRLs. Next. NASA originally developed the TRL scale and continues to use TRLs to manage complex projects, including rover development for Mars missions. Next. Taking an idea from the lab to outside market for commercialization is equally important because creativity, innovation, and invention are all related with each other. So innovation comes from the creativity comes from imagination. And I am not saying invention is always related to innovation, but for innovation, you must have some creative idea. But whatever you have developed inside the laboratory, that remains in the lab itself, because that product or process which has been discovered or invented by you is not having any kind of economic or social value. So in order to provide the economic value to the product existing in laboratory, you first have to innovate it. That's why the innovation is about commercialization, requiring more leadership skills, managerial skills, not and technical skills, not scientific skills. You need not to be should not have any engineering degree from IIT. You cannot guarantee any student from IIT will be a successful innovator. So innovator definition is very complex. You should have more marketing skills rather than scientific skills. And innovation helps in taking the lab technology out for commercialization. Next. Technology transfer, also called transfer of technology, is the process of transferring technology from the person or the organization that owns or holds it to another person. It's a transfer from one person to another person or from one organization to another organization. Next. So this is about technology transfer. A comprehensive definition of technology transfer today includes the notion of collaborative process, as it became clear that global challenges could be resolved only through the development of global solutions. Knowledge and technology transfer is playing a very crucial role in connecting innovation stakeholders and moving inventions from creators to public and private users. So please do remember, if you want commercialization, your research, your technology, your idea, your design, whatever is patentable, must be open, must be introduced to the public. But first, of course, you should patent it before disclosing your invention in front of others. Next. IP is an important instrument of technology transfer, as it establishes an environment conducive to sharing research results and technologies. The protection of IP rights enables all parties, including universities and research institutions, to ensure ownership of the scientific outcomes of their intellectual activity and to control the use of IP in accordance with their mission and core values. Next. IP protection gives academic institutions capacity to market their inventions, attracting funding, seeking industrial partners, and assuring dissemination of new technologies through means such as licensing or creation of startups for the benefit of society. So you have to be careful once you are going to work with the technology transfer. You should have the fair and better understanding of intellectual property rights, whatever it is, a patent, copyright, any other, trade secrets or a geographic indication, whatever it is. Next, the transition for a credible technical innovation in the lab to a product ready for sale and support is a path loaded with obstacles. The biggest mistake made in small technology based companies is assuming that the scientists are capable of running the business. We found out early on that there is a critical need for business and marketing guidance at a very early stage. So please be careful. Scientist is good for his work, but can never be I already told you, can never be a successful startup founder. When the scientists have free reign, the product is never ready for market. There are always further improvements to be made. Next. While the technology transfer process involves many activities which can be represented in many ways, in reality, technology transfer is a fluid and dynamic process that rarely follows a linear course. Typical steps including knowledge creation, disclosure, assessment and evaluation, IP protection, fundraising, and technology development. Next, marketing, commercialization, product development, and of course, finally, the impact on the market. Next. Technology transfer aims to ensure that scientific and technological developments are accessible to a wider range of users around us who can then further develop and exploiting the technology into new products, processes, applications, materials, or services. It is closely related to subset. Horizontal transfer is the movement of technologies from one area to another. Next, technology transfer had a direct impact on contributing to global public health issues by enabling global access to COVID-19 vaccines. During 2021, vaccine developers concluded over 200 technology transfer agreements. One example was AstraZeneca concluding the licensing and technology transfer agreements on AstraZeneca with the Serum Institute of Technology and with Daiichi Sankyo of Japan to supply vaccines for COVID-19, which were developed in collaboration with the University of Oxford. So these are all technology transfers, and most of the technology transfers took place between the two countries for vaccination purpose during COVID-19. Next. In this process, intellectual property was part of the solution and an important tool for facilitation of affordable global access to COVID-19 treatments, as it was the case in two licensing agreements between Medicines Patent Pool and pharmaceutical companies Merck and Pfizer. Next. So, despite incentives to move research into production, these are the drawbacks. The practical aspects are sometimes difficult to perform in practice. Using Department of Defense readiness levels as a criteria, research tends to focus on TRL level 1 to 3, while readiness for production tends to focus on TRL 6 to 7 or higher. Bridging TRL 3 to TRL 6 has proven to be difficult in many organizations. Attempting to rush research into production tends to be more costly and time consuming than expected. Next. If you look at the different stages, we have to begin with the research, whether it is basic or applied research. We have to disclose it openly into the public. We have to evaluate the performance. We have to think about the market for commercialization with the help of the technology transfer or innovation. Then we have to protect it with the help of the intellectual property rights. We have to undergo the licensing work. Whether we are going to sell the license, it is up to us. And of course, we have to monitor, we have to evaluate the performance and the impact of our startup in the market. Next. If you really want your technology to go from lab to market, you have to follow the innovation. You have to go for invention disclosure. Whatever you have invented, creating intellectual property, you have to assess that your intellectual property, and based on that, you have to you have to go for the patenting. If depending what you can patent, then intellectual property filing process will start. Once you are going for a patent, commercialization assessment is equally important. Once you have assessed your invention for commercialization, you are going to incorporate a startup, you are going to register with the government of India or MSME or with Startup India or whatever it is. You, as a limited liability partnership firm or a private limited company or simply the partnership firm. So number of varieties are there. For you have to find a partner where you are going to look for your angel investors, venture capitalists, successful entrepreneurs, incubators, accelerators who are going to provide financial support to your startup. Because in the early days of startup, you have to work as a moderate risk taker. No more financial gain, no rewards are there. In fact, you have to use crowdfunding approach. You have to approach your family, friends, teachers in the for the financial assistance in the beginning of any startup. You have to negotiate about the license, and then you have to start follow up and support system. Next. So when we are talking about commercialization, we will come to know it is about your discovery, ideation. So you have to start with ideation, refers to your idea generation. Idea can be generated by a number of techniques around us, like prototyping, brainstorming, scamper, worst possible idea. Once you have generated the innovative idea, you have to evaluate that idea. You have to validate your idea. Your problem must be validated prior to the development of any kind of prototype. Once you have had experimental proof of concept validated, now you will move to the prototype, you will be moving to MVP. Then, after the prototype has been validated, you will be developing the original product for commercialization. And once it is now ready with you, you are going to evaluate also what kind of feedback is there from the public, from the customer. And then if you think that you must go for licensing, so for any technology developed by you, you can go for the licensing also. Next. Challenges in IP and technology commercialization are valuable IP, so sufficient IP management, market readiness is very important. So you should remember your business must have both problem solution and product market fit concept and business model market fit concept. Otherwise, your product will might not have any readiness for the market, because a lot of competition is there. You have to tap what is the demand available for your product in the market, whether adoption will be there of your product in the market, whether customer is there who is going to buy your product. Of course, the confidentiality matters a lot. Partnership terms will be there, with whom you are going to partner. Of course, the payment terms will be settled out between the two parties. You have to attract your partners, whether they are in the form of angel investors or whatever, successful entrepreneurs already having a successful startups. Of course, the manufacturing capability must be there, and short time to market. So these are some of the important challenges in IP and technology commercialization. Next. So these are few references I have used during the preparation of my PowerPoint